Welcome to the collaborative. I'm your host, Sydnee Walker, along with Jack Taylor serving as guest co-host. Today, we are joined by Tameka RIsh. RIsh is currently the Senior Vice President of Fan and Associate Experience for AMBSE Sports and Entertainment, where she leads the operations and experience of any major event in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, including the Atlanta Falcons and Atlanta United. During her time in Atlanta, Tameka has not only ensured that Falcons corporate partners receive the maximum return on their partnership, but she has also been responsible for the development of several sports marketing careers, as more than 80 former interns and associates continue to work within the field today. While not working for AMBSE, Tameka has served on the boards of Leadership Atlanta and the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Sports Network Board. RIsh is a member of the University of Georgia's 2018 40 Under 40 class and the 2020 class of Leadership Atlanta. A native of Sylva, North Carolina, she holds a bachelor's in journalism with a focus in broadcasting and public relations from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and a master's degree in sports management from the University of Georgia. Welcome.
Thank you, Sydney. It's an honor to be here tonight with you guys. Thanks for having me.
So first up, we have Sid's This or That, UNC/UGA edition. I will give you a few options and you would tell me your preference and why. So starting off with UNC, Dean E. Smith Center or Kenan Memorial Stadium?
That is a hard one. I'm going to go with Kenan Memorial Stadium because that's where I owe the credit of my sports career to. So I'm probably one of the few people that are going to pick the stadium that sits in the trees over the legendary Smith Center. But I have an incredible set of memories with the Smith Center. It's one of the most storied buildings in sports. But I owe where I'm sitting now today to the Kenan field house. So I'm gonna go Kenan over Smith Center for that reason.
All right. I definitely expected you to say Smith, but I love the reasoning behind Kenan, so great answer. Next, we have the Old Well or the Bell Tower.
I am gonna go with the I'm going to go with the Old Well. The Old Well has legendary lore that if you drink water out of the Old Well, you'll get an A in your classes. The Bell Tower is beautiful, but it doesn't come with the promise of academic success. So I'm going to go with the Old Well for that reason.
I like it. Fun fact, I almost went to UNC for college, and I remember I took a picture in front of the Old Well, and I was super excited.
It didn't work for me, so I should have picked the Bell Tower, but maybe I didn't drink on the right day.
Transitioning into UGA, Fulton Dining Hall or Snelling?
Well, I was there in grad school, so I didn't really have either one. So I'm going to go with Snelling just over preference. But I didn't do a lot of. I basically remained in the same building all day long, so I didn't have the pleasure of either of them.
And last but not least, Sanford Stadium or Stegman Coliseum?
Definitely Stanford on that one. That one's an easy one. I'm on the right side of easy on that. Stanford's one of the most unique venue. I mean, I've been in over 40 something college football stadiums, I think, in my time, and Stanford's definitely a unique one with the bridge that you can see into without a ticket, and how it's nestled in campus, and it's kind of this big thing you come up on. Love Stanford Stadium.
I've been there a few times since a lot of my friends went to UJ, and I was thinking, I don't think anything really compares, but I had to find something for the this or that.
Yeah. Well, Stegman's hosted a lot of incredible gym meets, so I'm actually a big fan of the gym dogs. So when I think of Stegman, that's my memories of going to see them perform. So.
Thank you for participating. I'll now turn it over to Jack Taylor.
Thank you so much, Sydney. Tameka, fantastic to be meeting you. I am honored to be able to be in a position to ask you these questions today. We're going to cover a lot of stuff. All right, so let's draw things back. I'm going to take you back to your UNC days here for the first question. Looking all the way back, and that's your first LinkedIn credit at North Carolina was a sports desk intern. Seeing the variety of jobs that you've had on your way to AMBSE, what can you say about the importance of taking on different roles as you navigate your way through this industry?
Yeah, so I think when you're starting out in your career, it's as important to figure out what you don't want to do as it is to figure out what you want to do. And for me, I thought I wanted to do a lot of different things. So I tried all of those things. I thought I wanted to be in journalism. That was my kind of probably my second thing I thought I was going to be in college. And yeah, started out in political science thinking I was going to be a judge, and that didn't last too long. And then I moved from political science into journalism, and first thought I was going to be in news, and then ended up getting a job with a football team. And I got that job in football operations doing video operations, and I wanted that role because it would teach me how to use a camera and ultimately help me get my journalism career started. And I really fell in love with the team side of sports. So I thought, well, I won't do news, but I'll do, Stuart Scott was huge at that time. He's a North Carolina alum. And so that was my goal, was to be Stuart Scott. And so at the same time I was working at the news station, I was working for the football team, and really fell in love with the team side of sports. And, I continued to do different things in sports, trying to find, really gain experience. Some of it was literally for the experience, not necessarily for the future career. I knew it wasn't going to lead anywhere to like a full-time job, but I knew I would learn something from it. And ironically, I went to work in probably 1998 for a man by the name of Pete Soto. He was running Canes Vision for the Carolina Hurricanes. And I was texting with him today. Most people think I was in sponsorship for 15 years. And then I moved into this weird new role where I was over production, and then I have no experience in production. And actually I started my career in production, and I started working for the guy who was leading production here a couple of years ago. And that was in 1998. And so, I got my start in production, and nearly 20 years later, or over 20 years later, I started working in production again for the first time in 20 years. So I don't take any of those experiences for granted, because I don't know what day I'm going to need to go back and be like, dust off that version of experience that I got. When I did it, I didn't think that I was going to be running a control room one day. I thought, this gives me camera experience. This allows me to understand the back end. This pays pretty well for a college student. It's more fun than, some of the other jobs I could be doing. But, some 20 years later, I'm going back and revisiting the work that I did with the Carolina Hurricanes or the Carolina Cobras or the NC State's basketball. All of those I worked in production for when I was in school at North Carolina.
Gotcha. It's amazing the way that things can come full circle like that, especially over the span of 2 decades. I mean, it must be cool every once in a while to step back in that control room, whether it's at Mercedes-Benz or wherever the environment may be. Well, before I ask this question, I have to present you with some flowers, because AMBSE was just ranked #1 in terms of fan experience by the fans. So congratulations there. That's a huge accomplishment. And obviously credit of a ton of hard work that's happening in the background. So the question here is, with the ongoing effort of trying to get more people off the couch and into stadium seats, what is your team's strategy around optimizing the in-person fan experience, and what changes might we start to see around the league in an effort to draw in patrons?
So thank you for the kudos. Definitely getting #1 in fan experience, it requires every person in our organization to bring their A game every event. And so, on behalf of all those people, I'll say thank you, but definitely not an individual act by any means or a singular department. That's what's the greatest thing about being overall #1, is that every part of your business was clicking on all cylinders, and it was recognized by your fans. And so really proud of that honor for this year for the team. And anytime you get to #1, you got a target on your back. So we know that other people are wanting to be #1. So for us to remain #1 is going to take intentional work this off season to make sure we're still focused on it. But I think as it relates to our competition, people talk about who's the competition of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and our biggest competition is your living room. The beer is closer, the food is maybe fresher. You just cooked it and you're eating it straight out of the pan. It's cheaper, whatever. All of those things you can say. And so we know when you think about live entertainment, we have to earn that commute. We have to earn you putting on your real clothes, and we have to earn you getting up and fighting traffic and all of those things. So how are we doing that? And, I went this weekend, to Augusta National for the Masters, and Saturday was probably one of the worst days Augusta has hosted in a tournament in a long time. And that's the day I was there. And they do so many things so well that I had an amazing time in a really, really rainy, cold environment, right? Like, and so if you're delivering your experience at a high level, I know from a consumer standpoint, like some of those things that are like traffic and having to cross some friction barriers that would normally be a no, is now something that you want to do. And that's where we know if we're delivering on that experience at a high level, then people want to do it. And they will go through all the things that they will leave the recliner and come sit in a row of strangers. All of those things is what's going to make live sports win out over the living room experience.
Referencing another article in the Sports Business Journal, you made a point to highlight your mantra, don't take life so seriously. Things will work out the way they're supposed to. Find outlets for stress. The work will always be there. For this group of aspiring sports professionals, what can you say about the importance of balance in a stress-filled competitive industry like this one? And perhaps point out a few outlets that have worked for you.
Yeah, so early on in my career, someone gave me the little book. It's like a little, 4x4 book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And, at the end of the day, it's all really small stuff. And so, I have a lot of stress. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say nothing stresses me out. But I try to always remember that saying, or my dad always reminds me that this too shall pass. So this too shall pass is something to remember when times are great, and it's something to remember when times are bad. And sometimes we don't remember it enough when times are great. Like, you need to be present in those moments, enjoy them. Like, too many times you're in a really good situation and you'll hear a lot of people talk about looking back on their 20s, and they'll say, man, that was a great period. If I could go back to that period of my life. Well, too many people in your 20s don't enjoy that period of life. You're so looking to what, oh, if I had a family, or oh, if I had a house, or oh, if I had this car, or if I had this title, and you don't enjoy the moment you're in. And usually whatever that moment is, we're always looking to the next. Like, all right, well, right now you want to be a manager. You get to be a manager, like, you're not happy as manager. You don't enjoy being the manager. You're immediately thinking about how do you get to be the senior manager. And, I think in life, you don't want to be the person that wakes up at the end of the journey and you got to the end and realize that the journey was actually the part that was to be celebrated, not the end. And I think that was really clear to me when I graduated high school. For 13 years, I'd looked forward to this graduation. And I remember I finished my speech at graduation, and it kind of felt empty, as like, this is it. Well, I've waited 13 years for this moment and it's over. Now what? And so trying to take that realization of, high school graduation being a kind of symbol of our life, right? Like, always looking forward to this thing off in the distance. And if we're always looking forward to the distance, we can't be present in the moment. And so in the positive times, be present and realize, like, today's great. Celebrate today being great more often. And then when things are challenging, no, they're not going to last. Like, Annie said it best, the sun will come out tomorrow, right? Like, and how do we take those dark days and realize that usually the brightest moments are after them, and understanding they're going to be brief. And, I've had some challenging times. I've had challenging times recently, but the more you can understand that this too shall pass, you can get through it. It's not going to last forever. Just keep going, and really appreciate those positive times, because too many times when things are good, we're focused on, climbing that ladder, whatever that ladder is, whether that's a new house, we've got the house, now we want the basement, and we want the guy's room, or we finally get married and we want the kids, and we get one kid, we need two kids. All right, we got two kids, now they need to be Mozart and Babe Ruth at the same time. And so just always wanting more and pushing ourselves more and never enjoying the moment. And I think that's something that, especially as social media has advanced, Instagram's become, the bane of everyone's competitive nature, because they're always looking at someone else's, whatever fake life they present on Instagram or social media, and wanting that. And my challenge to myself, my challenge to everyone is be more present, enjoying your moment. Your journey is your journey. And don't wake up at the end and regret that you didn't enjoy your 20s, you didn't enjoy your 30s, you didn't enjoy your 40s because you were too focused on retirement or whatever that magical milestone at the end is. And you look back and you can't redo it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's terrific advice. We have a lot of recent or current college students in this group in attendance tonight. I want to bring you back to your time at USC or UNC as a student video assistant. What is something that you learned or had exposure to then that maybe didn't seem important at the time, but proved to be more important as you advanced in your career?
Yeah, so I don't know if I can answer it specifically from that moment, because I haven't thought about that, but I can tell you that there's been very little, no matter how brief of an experience that I had when I was 22, 23, 21. I mean, even at McDonald's in high school, that, I don't lean back on those moments today. So whatever you're doing, you need to take it as seriously. Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, just came down and spoke to our staff yesterday. And he answered kind of a similar question of, what did you do? How did you advance? And what did you do early on? And, he worked every day like he was trying to do the best job he could do in that job, whatever that job was. And he got noticed, he got recognized for that. And so I'm not here to tell you that, hard work gets you promoted, because it's not that simple, but doing a very good job, being intentional, being serious about what you're doing does get recognized. I had lunch Sunday at a restaurant, and there was a kid working there that it was very obvious that he was putting 150% in more than everyone around him. And I mean, he wasn't even waiting on my table. I don't even know if he was a waiter. He was, every time someone was doing something, he's like, can I help you? Can I help? Do you need and everyone in the restaurant notices that. You don't have to, because this kid is just working, and he's doing it with such a great attitude. He's working circles around the restaurant. And I think taking that example, how are you showing up? How do you walk to the copier? How do you, interact with the person when you come in the door? Because people see that. And what people don't understand is you're interviewing every day. Every day you're interacting with someone. They're remembering that for when that next conversation comes up. And you don't know who's the person that's going to help you get the job that you may want long term. It may be someone's parent. It may be a coworker in another department. As you move up in your career, it may be your former intern, maybe hiring you one day. And so just being mindful of all of that, and don't take any of your experiences for granted. I'll tell you, there's not a lot of jobs I've had in my however many years I've been working that is more stressful than lunch hour at McDonald's. And so understanding how to deal with people who want their French fries at noon and are on a lunch break, teaches you how to deal with people that are pissed off. Sorry for the language, but it teaches you to deal with upset people and how to calm them down. And so I use that all the time. I use the skills that I learned in drive-through in dealing with people, right? So as simple as McDonald's may seem, it taught me how to interact with people that aren't happy, because it's amazing. You got McDonald's play place, but there's not a lot of people coming through McDonald's that are happy. They are trying to get somewhere fast. And hopefully they're happy after they have the French fries, but they're not, budding with smiles as they're coming through the line. And so that taught me a lot about people, and I don't take that for granted. I could tell you every job, my UNC time taught me a lot about football. I worked on the football side. I was at every practice. I went to every game. I did cut-ups. Like, I learned football. And ironically, our head coach was one of the players on that team when I was at UNC in college. So, I got experience on the football side of things. And, I've seen more practices than a lot of the people in our organization, and was responsible for capturing that content and paying attention. And so the best thing that my time at UNC did for me was teach me the hardcore football side of the business. And so I feel really comfortable having those conversations.
Gotcha. My mom had a famous quote that she always repeated from the other side of those McDonald's interactions. She would always make us wait off to get fresh fries, and we would be complaining, eager to go. And her quote was, "Life's too short for cold fries."
Well, I'll give you a secret. If you want fresh fries at McDonald's, order them without salt.
Good to know. Insider.
They put salt on all the fries. So if you want fresh fries, you say salt, no fries, and then you put the salt on yourself.
Last question here. You speak with such gratitude and retrospective optimism about moments from your past that led you to where you are today. Mentioning you were the first person in your family to go straight to college out of high school. How do you leverage those previous achievements, though smaller in comparison to your more recent achievements, to fuel you moving forward? The sky's the limit with what you can achieve in your current role, but perhaps you can explain why those moments still matter.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember where you've come from, and starting out's always harder than moving forward. So it's once you're at a director level, it's way easier to become a vice president in some ways than it is to get that first full-time job. I mean, once you have your foot in the door, it's easier to prove yourself, right? And so some of the most meaningful memories I have is, I will always have gratitude to my brother for hiring me as a terrible weed eater. He was running a business, and I wasn't, and he tried paying me a fair wage, but I probably wasn't the best talent on his crew, right? But he knew I was at a super low point and I didn't have anything else. And I had pretty much lived on a credit card in Houston, and now the Pied Piper is calling, and I have, in my mind, I've ruined my whole career by this dumb decision to go pursue this, this radio gig and turn down a job. And so I'm forever grateful for those people. That may sound silly that's so meaningful to me, but you don't understand the phase and the state of mind that I was in, feeling like I had, this is what I've invested my whole life in, and then I've messed it up. Everyone says yes, and I said no because that wasn't what I wanted to do. And now look who's back home with mom and dad. This is terrible. And so to me, those memories are way more meaningful in a lot of ways than some of the milestones that people might think, because the stakes were so high. That felt like do or die at that moment of my career. And so all those people that have been with me through those moments that were pivotal moments, and I've had pivotal moments in recent years, right? There's been tough decisions, and those people, whether it's a former boss that still serves as a mentor, or it's, a friend that you feel like you only call when you need something, but they take the call, right? And it's those conversations that I think are the things that I cherish most about my career journey. If I had my wall of fame of the moments, they probably wouldn't be what people would think they are. People like Mike Smith, the former Falcons head coach, has been such a tremendous person in my career. He opened the door in a very male-dominated environment to give me stages to prove my capabilities. And just people like that and moments like that are the things that I'm most proud of, and the things that I reflect on most often.
Tameka, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and spending it with us tonight. Really appreciate hearing about your career journey, your insights, and I can tell you're really passionate about giving back. So we really appreciate you giving back to our group and pouring into us.
Well, thank you guys for giving me the time. Thank you guys for doing the research. The fact that you're on here tonight at 8 o'clock on, I don't even know what night of the week it is. I believe it's a Tuesday. That you care about your career, you're prepared, you're starting the right process. So stay focused on whatever those dreams are. Don't give up and put in the work to get there, because if you're putting in the work, most people aren't.